Welcome, everybody, to PinstripeChronicles podcast. I'm Tats. I'm here with Donald and Rom, and thank you for tuning in to sportname.com/player on SportsWire Radio. And we had a very interesting game last night. There was power. The pitching was average but sustainable. Cole was, he was able to get through the 5 innings, but he threw a lot of pitches last night. And I don't know if that's attributed to it being the middle of September and it's a long year after the 60-game season. You are starting to see some of the high-end pitchers start to labor a little bit in their outings. I think Cole is just the same victim to that. But I'm not worried about Cole. It comes down to Baltimore's bats were they're very aggressive, and they were fighting off a lot of pitches on the corners. So I think that's what spiked up his pitch count more than anything. Did you guys see the same thing I did?
No, I think a lot of it is to do with the fact that he pushed his start back 2 days. So he was just getting back into a rhythm after the hamstring injury. He's probably taking his time a little bit and making sure that he's completely ready to go. I think 5 innings is probably pretty fair. If there was a couple of elevated pitch counts, I think there's a few factors to be attributed to that, mostly to do with this, making sure he's healthy. I think Cole did great as far as I'm concerned. 5 innings, 1-run ball, no problem.
Yeah, and let's not ignore the fact that the umpire's strike zone was all over the place yesterday, on both sides of the ball. It wasn't like Cole was getting squeezed, and the Orioles were getting all the favors. The umpire was so inconsistent. There were pitches right in the corners that were being called for a ball, and there were pitches just on the outside that squeezed the plate were being called for strikes. And then it was shifting all through the game. It was very, very strange zone from the umpire throughout, which I think also factored, because you could see it on Cole's face. There were a couple of pitches that he was just kind of looking, going, how much more, I could throw it, right down the middle, and are you still going to call that a strike? So, you could just see that on his face. And he actually got a lot of strikes with pitches down the middle. And that was also on both sides. I've never seen so many hitters looking at dead red fastballs. I can't remember the last time I seen that. And it makes you wonder, like, what are they waiting for? Even Kay and Ken Singleton were having the discussion yesterday. Sit fastball, adjust to everything else. And it seems like batters nowadays are waiting for those breaking balls that are going to hit the edges rather than the fastballs that are in the zone. So it was a very, very strange zone yesterday. And it seems like, just as much as the pitchers didn't know what was going to be a ball or a strike, neither did the hitters. And it locked a lot of them up. A lot of the hitters were frozen on both sides as well. It was just, and the one thing I really want to get your opinion on was why Michael King was taking out, knowing he already had a pitch count, that you knew he wasn't going to be available for a couple of days, to go with, and take him out for who came out? His name just slipped my mind. For Ramon. It was Romano. It didn't make any sense.
Romano is in Ray Romano.
Romano. It's all the same. It's Rob, what did you think about the move of King going to Romano?
I don't know how Romano is back on his team. I don't.
That's a bigger issue.
So I made a note here. I'm like, why is Romano a better option than Warren?
Why is he a better option than anybody in the minor leagues right now?
We
could have called up the ball boy for a day and pitched him with a 5-run lead. He probably would have been better than Romano. This guy's been tossed around the league for the past 2 weeks. Nobody wants him. And he didn't even want to go to AAA. And the Yankees said, well, don't worry. We'll take you back to the major league roster. it probably most likely means that Herman will be back within the next couple of days. He had his first rehab start yesterday, so that's probably going to be the move. They're going to outright him again. He'll elect free agency. Hopefully it's the last we see of him. I don't know, but I don't know why King couldn't finish the game. Once they brought Romano, and I was like, okay, he's got a 6-run lead. He should be okay. And then no, he had to use Chapman. You had to use Chapman in a 5-run game. This is just like typical bad Yankee coaching. Like, Romano's not good.
Yeah.
You could have given that.
I will give him a little credit. The first batter he faced with that strikeout, his pitches did look very well. You know, he looked, but after that, he just fell apart and went back to the pitcher that we knew was going to show up. So it was a very strange inning from Romano.
Every inning he's pitched with us, and it's only been like 3. Yeah. He hasn't been that good. So, I mean, we've seen the same thing from Krisky. Every time he pitches, he has that one good at bat where he gets the out, and then the rest of his pitches are just all over the zone. There's no reason for Romano to be here, and now we had to go ahead and use our closer. So what happens tonight if we need Chapman?
Well, Chapman's not available. He already pitched 2 games in a row.
There you go. And that's how baseball is. So once again, you know, the Yankees are just making moves just for the hell of it. You know, you could have given that to anybody in the minor leagues that's on, I don't know who else on the 40-man. You could have given it to Warren and, you know, maybe got rid of Heaney when Herman's back, but they don't want to get rid of Heaney. So, I mean.
Believe me, I would have rather Romano than Heaney. You know,
no, I'd rather Ray Romano, but everybody loves Raymond.
It's weird how they make these roster moves, but it more than likely means that Herman will be back in the next couple of days.
Yeah, no, they had Herman had a rehab start in AAA yesterday, and a lot of people were questioning because he wasn't the starting pitcher. And then it was reported that he was being used out of the bullpen because when he comes back up to the major leagues, that's going to be his role is as a bullpen arm. So I think finally the Yankees got something right. Rather than trying to use him as a starter and get him, stretched out. Because at least with Herman, at least, if you do need to bring him into a bullpen situation, almost like what we saw from Chad Green a couple of years ago, you're going to be able to use him for more than 1 inning and not have him tire out. So I think the Yankees are actually doing the right thing, getting Herman ready as a bullpen arm.
Rob, I got a question for you. You might know more than I do. Would it purchasing the contract of Andrew Warren and promoting him to the major league roster, would that cost us money against our salary threshold?
I believe it would, yes. That's
there you go. That's the answer. That is the answer. They're not worried about winning.
They're worried about
actually.
Did we lose Donald?
I think Donald froze up.
Donald froze up.
Yeah, I just looked real quick. Warren is not on the 40-man, so you would have to drop somebody to add him.
So the luxury tax is what has apparently killed Donald to a point that took him out of the chat for a little while.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
We'll get him back in the feed full strength. He's back.
He froze up right after you mentioned the luxury tax threshold.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. I said, I think that's what it is. I think if the priority was winning, I think he'd be promoted. But I think they're so fixated on the 40-man and the luxury tax that they're just mixing and matching with some below average relievers. It's quite remarkable that they gave Romano a golden parachute. They released him and then gave him a new contract. It's unbelievable. This whole organization is such a mess. And as you say, Rob, the way they handled that 9th inning, I mean, with having to put in Chapman in a 5-run lead against Baltimore, they couldn't trust anybody to come in that situation, not to give up 5 runs. It's perplexing. I don't understand. I know a win is a win, but I mean, come on. Who's in charge here? Because it can't be Boone. And Cashman's not doing a particularly good job.
No, I thought they were going to go with Peralta to come in after Romano, not Chapman. I was actually very surprised to see Chapman even warming up with that big of a, not that it was a huge lead, but you had a significant lead where it's just they only needed to get 2 outs and 1 ground ball could have ended the inning to begin with. So I really expected Peralta to be the guy that they called on to give Chapman that off day, knowing that you might need him 2 games in a row. Well, now you only have him for 1 more game in the series against an offense that has really given the Yankee pitchers a little bit of fits, because the Orioles offense has become very comfortable with our pitching staff, and that can come back and bite you. A lot of people don't realize that when they just look at the Orioles as a bottom of the pack team. A lot of the reason that they have not been able to flex a little bit is because they don't have the pitching staff. The fielding and the hitting is really progressing very well. So the Yankees really need to utilize the arms that they're going to bring in. They got to do a better job strategizing on that.
Thinking the Yankees can strategize anything well right now.
Oh,
That's
and also,
But that's another
offensively,
red flag with the coaching.
offensively, the red flags are still there. We hit 5 home runs and we only scored 7 runs from the 5 home runs. You know what I mean? We should be putting up a lot more than that. Toronto put up 44 over the weekend. If we hit 5 home runs, I would have expected more than 7 runs, but we're obviously not just doing enough for runners in scoring position again. And it's just still an all or nothing offense. Nothing has changed in that regard. I know it sounds negative, but this is Baltimore. You can't look into too much about Baltimore. I mean, as I say, Toronto put up a football score on them for a couple of days in a row. So, this is a terrible team. They're not even trying to compete. So the only thing we can look at is the Yankees as a whole. I'm expecting them to win each game. They have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they drop even 1 game in the series, it's a flat-out disgrace.
But does the lack of offense also attribute to the way that the Orioles infield really cleaned up their defense and are not committing the errors that we saw a year ago?
maybe, but like Donald said, if you're hitting 5 home runs, you want more of those to be with guys on base.
Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll take 7 runs any day of the week because that usually means you can win. Although the last series we lost a game when we scored 7, so.
Well, with this bullpen, I don't think any lead is safe right now.
Right, exactly.
Right.
I mean, there are definitely some positives though. I mean, Judge is still on fire. Stanton's still on fire. Gallo's been much better lately, and they got another home run. That's good. Voit hit 1 out. He's happy about that, I'm sure.
Well, that's why that garbage time home run from Gallo to put the 7th run up was almost a determining factor of the score.
Well, every run matters apparently at this point, and I think it was LeMahieu that made it to 7. Was it?
Yeah,
Gallo?
You're right. LeMahieu had the Gallo made it 6.
At any rate, you need as many runs as you can because this bullpen is just brutal right now. I don't trust any single one of them to get big outs. Maybe Clay Holmes, but it's good to get a win. Hopefully they got to sweep the series. They cannot lose to Baltimore. They cannot. They've lost enough. They have to sweep the series.
Yeah, and I also want to the superheroes of Judge and Stanton. They're like a dynamic duo. Those two. They just continue to just hit well. Stanton hits home runs on a check swing, which is insane because he's not even really squaring up the ball. His last 2 home runs were right off the end of the bat. And he still has that power, which is what we talked about early in the season. Don't swing with the uppercut to hit it out of the park. Just make contact. The ball's going to go where it's going. They have the power to manipulate the ball, but you're also seeing a lot of they're spraying the ball around the field a lot more. With Judge and Stanton. They're not just hitting into the teeth of the shift. They're really, so now the opposing managers have to second guess their alignment, because you can't just free up one side of the field because they're hitting to that side as well. So I think that also attributes to why they've been so successful these last few, this last week and throughout the season overall.
Well, Judge has always been kind of an opposite field
Yeah.
hitter. Most of his home runs go the other way. He's just an overall great player. He's elite. The guy can do everything. He hits, he fields, he can run well. People don't give that enough credit. He runs very well for a dude his size. And then Stan's basically the same player. People just don't want to remember that because, he's DH'd the last couple of years, but they forget how he carried us in 2018. And look, they're healthy. This is it. This is what we said. They're healthy. This is what you're going to get. You're getting two elite players at their position in the same lineup. Not many teams can say they have that almost identical player hitting back to back at some points. And this can happen at any game. When they just put one good swing, you get 2 runs on the board at minimum.
If you want a positive for us to look towards potential playoff scenarios, Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are almost 2 of the only ones I can think of, apart from Garrett Cole. I think Garrett Cole's phenomenal too. Those 3 guys basically carried us this entire year. There's no question about it. Loizaga as well, but Loizaга's hurt. So it's really the Judge and Stanton show offensively. If you look at the numbers, they are way off in the distance in comparison to everyone else. They are just phenomenal. They've carried us all year long, and they're also clutch. They have come up big so many occasions this year. So in a playoff game, you feel good about these guys coming up big, so there is hope. Not much hope, but there is hope, and they are the principal reasons for it.
Yeah, I think one important factor going into the postseason and the end of the season into the postseason is how Loizaga looks when he comes back. If we're getting the Loizaga we've seen throughout the season, we'll be fine. If he's going to have any hiccups, it's something that it's going to be alarming and upsetting, because he's an arm that we really need him to help, anchor the end of these games.
Do we know when he's back?
I haven't seen any announcements yet with him.
Rob, do you know when Loizaga's back?
They're hoping by the end of September at least. I don't think they should rush it. It's a rotator cuff, like sprain or something along those lines. I don't think you can mess
I'm not
with
expecting
that. You kind of have to pray.
That's a tough one, yeah.
Yeah, you have to pray that Green gets it going these last couple of weeks. Same with Chapman. And you hope that Holmes or Herman can be that guy that leads the bridge to them. I don't think Loizaga should be back, because if he hurts himself and he's out next year, like Britton, I mean, our bullpen's already pretty shaky going into next year. If you lose Loizaga for more time next year, it's a risk that I'm not willing to take if I'm running the team, but I don't think that they feel the same way. They might rush him back like we've seen them do with so many other players.
All right, Donald, let's get some awards in.
All right. So joint MVP goes to Judge and Giancarlo. And the Edward Scissorhands Award goes to our man Gleyber Torres. He's done it again. This is now a daily award for Sir Gleyber. What more can be said? He is a Scissorhand, whether he's second or short. The butcher of New York. I mean, I'm running out of. I don't even know what to say anymore. He's broken, man. He is completely broken as a player. I was looking at an article. His numbers are really bad offensively. Like it's stunning how bad he is. Like if you're looking at comparisons, it's not good. Really not good. I think he's in the bottom 15 in a particular category. I'll just get that stat up in a minute, but he is terrible. And then defensively, he's probably the worst. Well, he's definitely the worst shortstop in the American League. And second base, he was never a great second baseman. So I don't want anybody to suddenly think that he was a Gold Glover at second. He was just competent at second as opposed to completely incompetent at short. So I think there's a major issue here. And I also don't think he's the hardest worker. He's not like, for instance, right? It's a source of comparison that Jeter is obviously, there's no even point mentioning him, right? He's an outlier. He's no one works harder than him, right? But if you look at like our most recent examples, DJ LeMahieu, right? He works so hard that he won a batting title in the National League and the American League, right? He continues to work at his game, and he's smooth in all over the field, second, third, first, pretty seamless. And out of the three position, he works incredibly hard, and he just gets on with his job. Brett Gardner, he doesn't have much talent, but he works incredibly hard. And he has worked at his game to the point where the Yankees have relied on him for the last 12 years, easily, right? And he's provided quality at bats. Then you get to Gleyber Torres, who has a lot of talent, but for some reason, I don't think he works quite at it as much as those guys that I mentioned, or a lot of the guys that you can compare him to. I just don't think he's got that work rate.
Well, that's why they kept saying he was working so hard in the off season, and what's alarming is you haven't seen the payoff yet.
No, if you work really hard,
he was focusing so much on his defense in the off season, but there's been no payoff. There's been no improvement.
When Joey Gallo went through that massive slump, Joey Gallo, you saw him doing a lot of batting practice after games, working incredibly hard. Now his swing's coming around. I've not seen any of that from Gleyber Torres. Nothing. Nothing has come around for him. So enough is enough. I'm not going to accept anybody trying to make excuses for him. It's completely inexcusable how bad he is. And also the Sal Romano Award for incompetence goes to Sal Romano.
I think you should share that one. That one should be shared with Boone. Boone's also.
And the pitching award goes to Garrett Cole. That's my awards for today. What do you guys think about the Torres stuff?
It's
not good.
Yeah, I don't know. Torres just leaves me speechless because I can't wrap my head around somebody with all that potential. He's got a lot of years to go on the major league level. Whether it's going to be here or somewhere else is yet to be determined. But I just think he's got to figure it out one way or another. Otherwise, he's just going to be one of those, whatever happened to that guy, type of players.
Well, I don't think benching him is the right move, though. A lot of people think he should be benched right now. That's going to kill any sort of chance. I mean, it could do one of two things. One, completely kill his confidence, and you won't see him improve at all going forward. Two, it could convince him to work even harder and come into next year as a second baseman or wherever they want to put him and just be the player that he was just 2 years ago. It's not like this was a 5-year thing that he's been struggling. It's been a year, 2 years, or a year and a half that he's been really, really bad. And you just wonder what's going on. Maybe he's too confident in himself. Maybe he thinks all the talents could eventually save him. I don't know. But he's too good of a player for this to be the norm for him. He's better than this. And I think that benching him right now wouldn't really do much because you have to eventually use him. If Tyler Wade's your option right now at second base, to get to realign the infield again, then you're just wasting what you've done. This is why they should have done it before. The infield realignment should have happened months ago.
Yeah.
But I don't know when anyone was expecting him to be a Gold Glover. The second he moved back to second base, like Donald said, he wasn't very good over there either. He just made the throws because it was shorter distance from second to first. But even yesterday, we saw both him and Gio mess up a double play ball. The bad flip from Torres, and then Gio drops it. Both of these guys have been very bad lately, but it's because Torres has been worse that Gio's almost kind of getting a pass.
Well, I think for the way I read that double play was, I think after Torres fumbles the catch, I think Gio just kind of, I think he expected Torres to just take the out of first base. I don't think Gio was ready for, and not to take any blame away from Gio. He's got to be ready for a throw at any moment. But I think that's what threw Gio off, was he wasn't expecting to throw where he should have, because it looked from Gio's facial expression that he was surprised that Torres continued to throw to second. So
I just checked it there. His OPS plus of 86 over 442 plate appearances puts him in the bottom 15 in the majors. And the only players that compare to him are some really exciting names such as Kevin Newman, Isaiah Kinner-Falefa, and Kansas City's Michael A. Taylor. So those are the guys that he's comparing with right now, offensively.
yeah, and whatever his last name, Falafel, whatever Evan called him.
Yeah.
He's one of those. I think he's going to be one of the brightest spots of the position in the next year or so. He's got a lot of promise. But
Well, they're defensively good, but offensively,
yeah,
they don't match up. And Torres, I mean, it's unacceptable. 442 plate appearances, and that's what you're giving us after giving us a 38 home run season.
Yeah.
So it's not just moving him to another position. There's something fundamentally wrong with him.
Yep. And
I'm not sure whether we have the time to fix him. I really don't know.
I don't think so.
Not this year. He's not going to be fixed in 18 games. If it's going to be a long off-season process. Maybe you got to fix his swing. The leg kick needs to go. Maybe he needs an entire adjustment at the plate. Like Gary, Gary killed the leg kick, and he's been better. He hasn't been, hitting 290 or anything. He's still a very low average, but he's been a much better hitter than he was a year ago without that leg kick. So maybe a simple thing like that, change where he's got his body, because it's like we've already talked about this. Donald's been very adamant about where he is before he's even swinging the bat. So it could be a thing, but he was also swinging the bat the same way 2 years ago when he hit 38. So maybe it was a juice ball thing. We've seen a lot of launch angles down this year from our offense. So I don't know, but the fix is not going to be this year. If we get a better Gleyber Torres, it'll be next season.
Yep. All right, Rob, let's go. You got any trivia for us?
Yes, I do.
Donald will have an easy point over Evan.
Well, it's either going to be me or nothing. So,
guys, it is our 56th episode, so no better time to talk about Joe DiMaggio than right now. The year he had the 56-game hitting streak, 1941, he led the majors in what major offensive category? Well, actually, that's not the question. He led the majors in RBIs, but how many did he have? And I will tell you, I'll give you like a in between. It was in between 100 and 150.
136.
No.
144. How was that guess?
Think lower, guys.
Okay.
117.
127.
Oh, I was so close. It was 125.
Oh.
Right there. Led the majors. It was one of his 13 All-Star game appearances. He made the All-Star game every year he played.
That's insane. So
I just have half a point.
You get a brownie point for being so close, but you do not get
a brownie point.
Well, it was easier with a window to work in. So, all right. So for our history for today in 2010, the newest Hall of Famer, with Derek Jeter, with all his awards on the field. You also added one off the field with an Oscar performance, getting Joe Madden tossed after faking the hit by pitch after it was hit off the end of the bat, and putting on the show of a lifetime that actually brought in national news clips discussing the ethics of baseball, which I don't know if you guys. I'm sure you guys remember that was a big topic. And Jeter's thing was, my job is to get on base. You saw an opportunity to get on base, he took it. So
I have to say,
I had no issue with it.
I was going to say, if anything would question the ethics of baseball, would be A-Rod.
Exactly.
When he batted the ball out of the guy's glove,
exactly.
or shouted at the guy to drop the ball. I think those are things that, or maybe.
Wasn't that in the same season?
No, the glove thing, that was the 04 ALCS where he tried to smash the ball out, and he said, "No, that's just the way I run."
That was great.
You could watch every video. It's not the way he runs. There was something else A-Rod did that was so stupid that year that it actually took the attention away from Jeter. Is that when he ran across the mound on Dallas Braden?
That was more Braden just being stupid, if we're being honest. Don't run.
Get off my mound.
He's still holding on to that. He's still got a shirt. It's been 11 years or whatever. It's been, calm down. Don't run across my mound. Get out of here.
Remember the guy dropped the pop-up when A-Rod was crossing the base and he shouted at him? And then the guy dropped it. That was awesome.
Hey, you know what? You do what you have to do.
You do what you got to do. I love that shit. That was great. But the batting the ball out of the glove is probably a little bit more verging on ethic abuse rather than Jeter's faking a hit by pitch.
Well, it was because it was Jeter. That's why.
Exactly.
He was the epitome of what baseball was supposed to be. Well, listen, guys have been trying to pull tricks for a million years, since the game began.
That's what makes baseball special.
Jeter's just putting his own little notch on the history of, the trick plays and the tricking the umpires. So I had no issue with it. I thought it was hilarious.
It was.
Especially when I'm looking over his shoulder as he's holding his hand. So, all right, your guys' question for the day. This is a good one. I thought about holding it, but I have to get this one out. It's too good to hold on to. All right. What would you rather do? Trade Stanton this offseason or sign Judge for the rest of his career? You have to pick one.
Sign Judge.
Oh, that's horrible.
Sign Judge for the rest of his career.
You could trade Stanton for his entire contract or sign Judge for the rest of his career.
So does it mean that if I sign Judge to a massive contract, I have to trade Stanton?
Yes.
Or if I sign,
Yeah. And if you decide,
So that means
but only one player is able to stay.
I'm keeping Judge. I mean, I love Stanton, but I'm keeping Judge. As much as I like Giancarlo Stanton, I mean, Aaron Judge, you want that homegrown guy, right? That's what everybody wants. You want the next homegrown great Yankee. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer to me, at least. I know it's a tough one to think of, but
it's a thinker. That's what it is.
You're trading Stanton's contract for what you're going to be paying Judge, and they're essentially the same player, as good as they are together. I mean, Judge is a little
because
Evan always makes the point of Judge's body type, and as he gets older,
does this question make sense? I'm just trying to think this through. This question doesn't make sense. So what happens if I choose to keep Stanton and I don't want to trade him?
Then Judge goes to free agency. You lose Judge.
Judge goes to free agency.
So you should have worded it better, because you made it seem like we had a choice in the matter there. Obviously, the obvious choice would have been you keep both, because they can afford them. But no,
you trade Stanton this offseason, sign Judge.
But then your second question is, your second question is keep Judge. So basically, the question doesn't really make sense. But okay, I get your premise. This is wrong, because I love Giancarlo and I stand by him.
I'm actually thinking about rewording it where it is a lot clearer and posting it on the Twitter page. I think that'd be a fun discussion on social media.
No, I get what you're saying. If you want to re-sign Judge long term, you have to trade Stanton this offseason. That's basically what you're saying.
And
would you re-sign Judge for the rest of his career if it meant trading Stanton? And I would say yes. And I
I would-
defended Giancarlo Stanton relentlessly on Twitter. So I'm just
And
letting that be.
if you opt to keep Stanton, then Judge would disappear in free agency.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. For the purpose of being a little bit different, I'm going to choose to keep Giancarlo Stanton.
I actually would. I actually would go with Judge only because of the homegrown aspect, marketability, and he would still be able to fill that DH spot with a new youth of outfielders to take over out in right field and center.
There you go.
It's a no lose, really. You've got two phenomenal
it's a no lose scenario. It really is. All right, that's gonna wrap up things for us today. Just remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on sportname.com/player on SportsWire Radio. Just remember to wear your pinstripes for pride and play hard.